Who in the world is you call yourself a fan?
Sorry, I was getting...
And you just named my precious boy Charlie?
Sorry, I was getting Charles Beckendorf and D'Angelo mixed up in my head.
Disgraceful.
I know.
Good.
Okay. Hello, our beautiful audience. My name is Stephen Nieman.
And I'm Ankit and Madhira.
And welcome to Flip the Scripts.
Welcome back. We are back talking about Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Lightning Thief. I did look it up. I do think it does have the whole title. I know last episode we said that it didn't, but I'm pretty sure it does have technically the whole title to it.
I swear it doesn't.
I don't know. I mean, you're the one with the phone today, so you want to look it up real quick while
Sure.
I explain to the lovely people what we're doing. So anyway, what we're going to do while Steven looks this up is we're just going to continue going on through the film, and we are going to finish going through it, the differences between the book and the film. Obviously, we are talking about the film. I know that a lot of people might be thinking that we are talking about the TV show that is coming out currently as these episodes are also coming live. We are not currently talking about the TV show. If you want to hear our thoughts on the episodes as they come out, it'll either be in video form or audio form, but you can go over to our Patreon and you can get an idea of what we think as the show's coming out, but we'll do like a bonus episode a bit later after the whole season is out. Did you find things, Steven?
Yeah, so while the book is called Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, the movie is called Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Lightning Thief.
Okay, so we weren't completely wrong. We just forgot that it had and the Olympians.
Yeah, but also not the title of the book. I understand like Percy Jackson and the Olympians is like the series. And so I think my comment from last week, which you can watch now on our Spotify and other places where we post our content.
Yeah.
Spotify if you want to listen to just audio only, or YouTube if you'd like to watch the video. I think we're entertaining in both senses.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think so. It's also like really nice when you guys engage and like, you know, send us a message or, you know, comment on the video, because it makes us feel like we're not just talking to a void. So like, thanks.
Help the void become full. But like, I think my comment still stands where like by reading the title, you feel like Percy's the Lightning Thief. Like there's no, there's no like, and the Lightning Thief, where like in the book's title, I'm like, yes, Percy Jackson, not the Lightning Thief. I get it. I'm on board with this.
Speaking of Percy, what's he up to?
So here we are. We're going back into the halfway point of the book, and the film. So in the film, we just finished Capture the Flag.
No. We just finished whatever game that was. I refuse to call it Capture the Flag.
We were finished Chris Columbus's version of Capture the Flag, which is actually quite sad.
If you want to hear my rant on it, go watch the last episode.
Yeah.
It's towards the end of it.
Of course. And so they go to dinner, which is our first dinner scene in the film. Of course, in the book, comparing already, Percy's been there for a week and a half. This is his first day in the film.
Yeah.
So unlike, I think, if I had to compare it to like Harry Potter, where like it felt like going to Hogwarts was such a magic thing, and like we ended up in Hogwarts and it was like, and now we're in Hogwarts, all of our action will take place in Hogwarts. It feels like the camp, which was already cramped, we already complained about the camp, we already complained about the structure, was like, okay, we're gonna be at it for like an hour and film all the scenes and then go away.
It literally felt like they spent maybe 3 days
in that location.
Yeah.
And I think like it sucks because you don't really get to see Percy grow and like get friends or like connect to Luke or connect to Annabeth
or connect to Grover.
Like it just feels like again our main character is kind of a Mary Sue. I know men don't usually get called that, but it feels like in the film he's kind of like a Mary Sue, where it's like, yes, he's just being taken on for the narrative's sake.
Who's Mary Sue?
It's a whole thing about like when a character is like characters like taken on a journey. It doesn't really make sense for the whole movie, but like we accept it. Mary Sue.
Okay.
It was a big complaint about like Rey Skywalker and the Star Wars franchise. Let me not cause a inflammatory war in the comments though, because a lot of people do not like that character.
Yeah. Also, we're not talking about Star Wars.
No, but like okay.
We could.
One day.
Maybe.
But adaptation.
I don't think
in
it's
Star
an
Wars is
adaptation.
hard. Yeah, it is. Star Wars has a bunch of books.
I do own a couple of them.
But like what's been actually like translated from book to screen is very interesting.
I'm also not sure how the books relate into any way, shape, or form into the Star Wars universe.
I think the books are written after the films because, you know, George created Star Wars. But let's get back to Percy Jackson.
Right, Percy Jackson.
So, Percy, unlike in the book, where right after Capture the Flag and the Hellhound, because everyone stopped for that. By the way, Hellhound's not in the film for some weird reason. Percy gets told by Mr. Brunner, hey, you got to go talk to this thing upstairs above the house, which happens to be the Oracle. Now, for those who know Greek mythology, the Oracle of Delphi, very, very, very important because guess what? It gives us prophecies that we have to follow. And when a hero goes on a journey, they get a prophecy from the Oracle of Delphi. And, I mean, if you know Oedipus Rex or anything like that, literally mentioned in all of Greek mythology.
Woo! So, the film
ignores it. So we end up having dinner. A couple of the campers come to Percy and they're like, oh, wow, you did such a good job. A couple of female campers. And Percy's like, hi, I'm Logan Lerman. And like, you know, I'm sorry. Like, I've seen Logan Lerman in a lot of films. It's hard to see him as like the nerdy character where like actually he doesn't. Like, sometimes he pulls it off, but I don't know if he pulls off like nerdy or like the.
Again, he did his best with what he was given.
True. So like they're all eating dinner and like no one mentions that you have to like scrape your food into the fire to be for the gods. Like there's a lot of like missing from that scene. And then all of a sudden Hades pops up from the fire because, you know, a god of the underworld can walk right into camp.
Also, like for some reason Hades has deemed that Percy is important enough for his physical presence or like his embodiment in like, you know, his devil form with the wings and everything, which is excessive and not needed.
Also, Rick spent like countless hours making sure that the underworld and Hades isn't a representation of the devil and Satan from Christian mythology.
Yeah, and that got thrown out the window in about 2 seconds.
The film was like, oh, we watched Hercules once. Yeah.
I don't even know if they watched Hercules. Because if they watched Hercules, they would have understood that Hades isn't the devil. Hades is Hades.
Yeah. So this huge satanic devil thing pops out of the fire. And it's like, goes to Percy like, where is the bolt? And instantly you're like, okay,
you don't have it.
Now, the thing about this scene already makes me scared. Because I'm like, no one knew Percy had a bolt, and the only reason Hades was after Percy was because Hades had something stolen. But again, that wasn't mentioned.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he's like, "Where's the bolt?" and lights something on fire. Now, in the book, Talia's tree. For those who don't know, there's this tree on Half-Blood Hill that protects the camp in the first book. And prevents outside monsters and other things from getting into the camp. For a god to enter camp, usually they have to get permission. But
unless you're Mr. D.
Yeah, I mean, I know Hermes comes in like the second book. We're not there yet, but like at the time the barrier was being destroyed, so we could probably chalk it up.
Well, no, gods can come into camp because like Apollo's shown up occasionally. Artemis comes in occasionally. So, like, gods can show up. But, like, Hades doesn't.
Yeah, I would also say Hades has, like, an army of
minions. Of dead people.
He can send. And he just doesn't.
Yeah. Anyway, so pretty much what happens is that, you know, Hades shows up. He's like, where's the bolt? And no one knows what's going on. And then he reveals that he actually does have Percy's mother and that she's not dead. She's just trapped in the underworld. And if Percy wants to save her, he needs to come to the underworld.
Because, Percy can't have that hope for himself, and that leads his objective in the whole book. But in the film, he has to be told everything.
Yeah. Percy doesn't get to have character development. What's that?
And so he goes to Mr. Browner. He's like, I have to go to the underworld to rescue my mom.
And Chiron's like, no.
And unlike in the book where Chiron actually sends him on a quest, it's only important if Percy, Annabeth, and Grover leave camp together and go on a quest.
Yeah, also, like, in the book, you're not allowed to leave camp without having been given a quest.
Exactly.
In the movie, pretty much what's about to happen is that they just leave. They just run. But before they run, so Percy kind of like makes up this decision. Grover, being a good friend, is like, all right, like, I know where you're going. I'm coming with you. And Annabeth is also like, I'm coming with you. And Percy's like, why? You've never liked me in the one day that we've known each other in this film.
Not even one day, half a day.
Half a day. And she's just like, no, I'm coming with you. It's my only chance to leave camp. But that's not explained. I'm like, all you do is walk out. Like, it's not explained that, like, you need a quest to be able to leave camp. Like, otherwise you're not allowed to leave camp. Like, there are rules set in place. None of this is explained. Anyway, so they're like, all right, we need to go. And then Grover does ask the very important question, Percy, do you know where you're going?
And Percy, of course, doesn't. So they go to Luke, which is a weird person to go to get advice for, like, where to go. So Luke is like, oh, the underworld is in Hollywood, which, that's true to the book. It is in DOA records, but that's not where it is in the film. We'll get there.
Yeah.
And Luke is like, you have to get these marbles or little...
You have to get
pearls.
Persephone's pearls or stones. I think they were called pearls in the...
They're pearls.
I think they're pearls in the movie.
Yeah.
But you have to get Persephone's pearls, and it's what Persephone apparently uses to then sneak lovers in and out of the underworld.
Yeah.
So, like, cool, fine. You're telling me Persephone, a goddess, has only hidden 3 of these pearls across the entire United States?
I would also like to point out that in the book, Percy didn't need pearls to go to the underworld. He was just cool and badass. He just went.
Yeah, in the book, all the shenanigans that happen in the book happen because they're just trying to get to California.
And I think this is where the book and the movie have an argument. Now, some people might say, oh, isn't it really good that the movie gave the characters, like, a reason to go places and things happen because they went there and all that stuff? I would say, no. What Rick is doing in the book is he's comparing it to things like the Odyssey and the Iliad, where you have heroes, and Greek heroes are constantly running into monsters and problems because that's how Greek mythology works. Rick understands this.
Rick accepted this.
Columbus and I hate you. What's his name? The writer.
I don't know. We don't even need to mention him again.
Is it Thule or something like
sure.
that?
We'll call him Thule. I completely forgot, and I
guy who wrote
don't
live
have
action
my notes.
Scooby-Doo didn't understand.
I think his first name was Craig.
Yeah, Craig Titley.
Craig Titley. There we go.
Yeah, Titley did not understand that apparently because, not the smartest guy in the shed. Only wrote children's stuff before, so he was trying to dumb it down. But when he was dumbing it down, he made it dumber for everyone.
Again, I think the big issue was that you tried to make 12-year-olds be 18-year-olds.
So Luke has like a TV screen in his like hut, which like let's not talk about the problems with electricity at Camp Half-Blood. We can spend an hour on that.
Luke doesn't just have a TV screen. Luke has one of like
a streaming setup.
Like he has like a very good quality streaming setup. And then when they walk into his cabin, he says a line, "Welcome to the 21st century." I'm sorry, were we in a different century before this? Like, it's still the 21st century. You just have technology, which technically shouldn't be working in camp. But again, that's a very, very deep rabbit hole that, like, we shouldn't get into. But very quickly, pretty much, Half-Bloods can't use electronics and, like, cell phones because they attract monsters.
So, Yeah, Luke gives him a map because, they need a map to find all the pearls. And then also he gives Percy flying shoes that he says is from his father, Hermes. Um, and, this is supposed to be our establishing Percy and Luke are friends. Yay. They're friends. We have to show them as friends before they fight to the death.
Yeah, because apparently for some reason we care about this friendship when all Luke has really done is I'll take him and then sent him to potential death. And then after that, he's like, oh yeah, I have a map and here are some shoes. Which the shoes in the book, Percy can't use the shoes because Percy can't fly because Zeus doesn't like kids of Poseidon. So that's why Percy's never been on a plane. Like, he's never flown because that's Zeus's realm. It just doesn't work. They don't mesh. It's not good. So he gives the shoes to Grover. This doesn't happen in the film because apparently Percy can fly now in the film and Zeus just doesn't care.
Yeah. So here we are. We're going on our quest. So the first place we stop at after we've gotten the shoes and Percy's like, yeah, cool, I can fly now, because that makes sense. We end up in Auntie M's Emporium.
Which I will say, this is similar to the book. How they get themselves there is different, but we've gotten there. Yeah. That's the same in the book.
In the book, Percy, Annabeth, and Grover take a bus. They blow up the bus, and they end up there.
Yeah. In the movie, they just drive there. Fine. I'm not super upset. Like, don't get me wrong. I would have loved to see them blow up a bus.
They don't even drive there. I think the camera just zooms into the Auntie M's Emporium, and they just end up there on the map.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, though, not a bad transition.
No,
to save time, not a bad transition.
I missed the blowing up the bus scene, but fine. I digress.
Again, it would have been fun to see them blow up a bus.
Especially a Greyhound. I mean, come on.
Yes.
I can't wait to see that in the Percy Jackson TV series. It's going to be so good.
Oh, that should be happening probably on the episode that's coming out this Wednesday.
No, it should be like episode 5, no?
Blowing up the bus, buddy?
They don't blow up the bus until halfway through the book.
Okay, maybe I feel like they should blow up the bus around like episode 4, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe 3 or 4, so maybe next week.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see. Again, if you want to hear our thoughts on what's going on, sign up for our Patreon.
We're really excited for the TV show.
Yeah, if you can't tell, I cannot wait for this show.
We're going to be recording little mini episodes about the episodes while it comes out.
Some of them might be video, some of them might be audio. It depends on what we have access to in terms of recording at the time.
Life.
Yay.
So we end up in Auntie M's Emporium, which is like one of those things where I'm like, yeah, cool. Uma Thurman plays Auntie M, which happens to be
great casting.
Medusa. I don't like Uma Thurman.
Really?
Like, okay.
I was going to say there are 2 castings in this film that I do not mind.
So, like, I love Uma Thurman in, like, Pulp Fiction.
Sure.
And I feel like that was her last, like, great role. Because every time I've seen her now, like, okay, before I saw her in this, last time I saw her was probably in Batman and Robin, which she was Poison Ivy. The worst.
Is that the one with the nipples?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Clooney.
Yeah, Clooney's Batman.
Great.
Yeah, back credit card and everything. Like,
yeah.
What the fuck?
Anyway, Uma Thurman.
Sorry, language. What the F?
We try not to swear. It slips out every now and again.
We don't want to get cursed by YouTube demonetization. But basically, Uma Thurman, I think she's such a campy actor. Now, I mean, when it comes to, like, I think things like this, she went full camp. I agree. She didn't do bad. I just don't like her design, maybe. I feel like she doesn't look like the Gorgon Medusa. I feel like she's just very like, yes, snake hair. There was none of the other ailments that.
Yeah,
like,
I think the issue, because I think she did a good job. Again, the script didn't help her.
Costume was bad.
The costume department didn't help her. I think it was more the costume and the makeup on that end of why it felt off, but I felt like the casting they got right. Like, Uma Thurman was a good choice to play. There are only 2 castings where I'm like, those were good choices to play the person that you wanted them to play, other than like maybe some of the small side characters.
Who were you 2?
Smelly Gabe.
Oh yeah, he's good.
Smelly Gabe, who knocks it out of the park. Best casting in the whole film. He read the book. He understood the assignment. He delivered the assignment.
Uma Thurman.
Uma Thurman was number 2.
Pierce Brosnan.
Again, did fine. I don't feel like we got to see enough of him to really care.
Yeah.
Whereas like Uma Thurman, at least we get this fun action scene and stuff. Yeah. So like we got to see a bit more. We got to see a bit more of the villainy. So pretty much what happens in the Emporium is they need to find this pearl, and they're like, okay, let's split up. And there are all these statues all around the Emporium, and they're going around and they're looking, and Grover comes across a statue of a satyr, and he's like, oh, this looks like my Uncle Ferdinand.
It is my Uncle Ferdinand. Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, but I think that, for surprisingly, book accurate.
Yeah.
So we go into this burst of action where now Percy and Annabeth, we find this random couple in the film.
Who doesn't exist, but again, like...
Because we need to see Uma Thurman's powers, I guess. I think, like, it's weird to be like, oh, we need to see Medusa's powers to understand how scary she is. Where I'm like, I think the most of the audience watching know who Medusa is.
Yeah. I
think we know, you look in her eyes, you turn to stone. I feel like that's such a common thing to know.
Again, it's one of those things where in the last episode we were saying if you say Zeus, most people know who you're talking about. If you say Poseidon, most people know who you're talking about. They might not know everything. I feel like it's a similar thing. If you say Medusa, most people will be able to put together like, oh, it's from Greek mythology.
Exactly.
They might not know necessarily what Medusa does or all of that, but like it's one of those iconic names from Greek mythology.
I mean, and you could have literally given a line to like somebody being like, don't look at her eyes, you'll turn to stone.
I think they gave that line.
Yeah.
To Annabeth.
After we saw it.
Yeah.
So, like, we've already seen... Now you're showing and telling? Okay, get your movie right.
Pick one.
Pick a lane and stay in it.
If you just need to tell people something the whole time, just tell us the whole time. If you want to show us so then we can interpret it, let us see it. Pick one.
Yeah, so, Annabeth, Grover get kind of like, they're scared, Percy's getting chased by Medusa because she's like, oh, I knew your father once. The relationship isn't really talked about a lot it's talked more about in the book, because in Greek mythology, Medusa and Poseidon had a thing, and Annabeth's mother is one of the reasons why she's Medusa.
Yeah.
But Percy decides to pull out his trusty phone. Again, not book accurate because you can't pull out your phone.
It wasn't a phone.
No, it was an It was the original iPhone.
I thought it was an iPod Touch.
No, it's the original iPhone.
Okay.
Like the original iPhone looks like an iPod Touch.
Cool.
From back then. Like
I don't use iPhones.
No, but like I remember that phone because I didn't have one, but all my friends had one, and I was like jealous because I had like a Samsung back in the day.
I had a slide phone.
Oh, I had a slide phone too.
Dude, that was great until it broke.
When I was 13 though, I had a flip phone.
Okay, so my sister got a phone when she turned 16.
Oh, nice. And you were like, I want a phone.
Well, no. Because when she turned 16, I was 12.
Oh, fair.
So, like, I didn't get one. And then I ended up getting a phone when I was 13. Or I was 11, I think, when she got her phone. Wow. And then I got a phone when I was 13, about to turn 14, like a couple months before I turned 14, and my sister was so mad. Like, she was so upset that I got a phone 2 years before she did. And my parents looked at her and they go, the only reason he's getting this phone is because he's cycling to school and we just need to make sure that he gets there safely. And half the time I would forget my phone at home anyway, so I'd just go to the office and then call my house and be like, hi mom, I'm at school, bye. And then like, yeah, like that was the only reason that I had a phone, was just because I was going to cycle to school.
Yeah, so my dad gave me like an old flip phone when I was like 13. So I was in like my 8th grade as well, and my dad just gave me his old flip phone. I was like, cool. I was just happy to have a phone I could call my mom in case of an emergency, like literally, that's all. But man, I miss simpler times. My brother had a Motorola Razr.
Ooh,
Yeah, those were cool.
those were nice.
For those who don't remember, the razors were like,
I think we had one that was called like a Pebble. It was like a Motorola Pebble, and it literally looked like a little green pebble.
oh.
It was so cute.
Do you remember the T-Mobile Sidekick? Like it was like a little like it was like a stick phone. It was like boop.
No.
It felt like at a point we were making phones smaller and smaller and smaller, and then iPhones started going bigger and bigger and bigger, and now we have like the biggest phones in the world.
We
again.
have a phone that's bigger than my face.
Yeah. I mean, also you could call people on an iPad, I believe. So
Yeah,
like,
but that's not a phone, so I won't count that. But like, I also love how Samsung now is like, hey, we made a smartphone, and guess what? It can flip. And I'm like, so pretty much you've just taken the technology from 25 years ago and implemented it into a smartphone? Okay.
I will say I've seen it. It's actually really dope.
I will say, yeah, because I went to the Samsung store yesterday because I was bored.
It is dope.
It is
does
really
look
fun
cool.
to use.
I'm an iPhone forever kind of person, but like
I don't like iPhones.
yeah, I know, but blue text messages, man. Let's go back to Percy Jackson.
Anyway, Percy Jackson.
So iPhone product placement number one. Apple product placement. So he like uses the iPhone as a mirror so he can see her, which is like call back to remember Clash of the Titans, which had Medusa in it.
Sure.
It's a film.
Oh, okay.
It's an old film. They remade it like in 2006 or something. And then
like how you've just assumed I haven't seen it.
well, we're gonna get more to talk about Clash of the Titans in a second.
Why?
So Grover and Annabeth GTA a car, and GTA a truck, and they like run into Uma Thurman with a truck, and I'm just like, all right, that's one way to kill her.
She's not dead.
She's not dead. So Percy does the thing that everyone's like, okay, Clash of the Titans. So he chops off her head. And then, in the book, Percy, after he chops off her head, mails her head to Olympus, to the gods. Because he's like, F you, man. He's basically like, he's like, say to the gods, I'm Percy Jackson, I'm here to stay. And that was like, obviously showing the endearing side of Percy, and like why we love him so much as a character.
Hey, he just thought the gods don't necessarily get gifts all the time. I should deliver something fresh.
Yeah, very fresh. But in the movie, they decided to
take
keep
the
the head. So hilarity can happen. So I'll get to why Clash of the Titans in a later scene, but like,
cool. Pretty much, they find the pearl. It was on Medusa's like bracelet.
yeah,
And then they move on. Overall, fairly accurate scene to the book.
so I think
Not the worst that we've seen.
I think the truck that they GTA'd belonged to the old couple.
Oh, 100%. That's my headcanon.
So they take the truck to the next place,
And the old couple's dead, so no one's gonna report it missing.
So now we're going to Texas. And
No, we're not. We're going to Tennessee.
Oh, that's right. We're going to Nashville.
We're going to Nashville.
Which, like, of course, because we want to see the Parthenon. Now, I don't care for this change. I like the fact that in the book, the next place we kind of end up, at least in the main place we end up next, is the
St. Louis Arch.
St. Louis Arch, which is, like, to me, one of the coolest locations in America. I've driven through it. Like, it was an awe sight to see. I think, like, what a cool location to shoot in. What a cool location it would have been to see on screen.
Right?
But we go to something that's not in the book for the sake of, Greek buildings. But, like, in the book, they literally explain that all the buildings in America are Greek because we're inspired by the Greeks in our architecture, because that's Annabeth's dream, and she talks about it literally in the first book.
Multiple times in
Multiple
the first
times.
book. Yeah, Annabeth in the movie, and we'll just say this now. Again, character arc and character development is not something that exists in these films, but in the movie, Annabeth is just there to make sex eyes at Percy.
Yeah.
And it's disturbing.
So, they go to the Parthenon, and they see the,
Pearl.
they see the pearl in Athena's headdress, and they're like, it's during the day. We can't get that. We'll come back at night. So they go to a...
No, they hide in the toilet.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They hide in a toilet. And then they come out at night.
They come out at night. There are 5 security, not security officers.
Janitors.
There are 5 janitors who are there cleaning up, as the lovely people who work as janitors do. And
so they shoot them.
Yeah.
with sleep darts.
They shoot them with sleep darts. 4 out of the 5, fair. One of them
was on a ladder.
And he got shot. And then I'm pretty sure his head landed on the base of the Athena statue. That man dead.
Yeah.
That man is gone.
Percy Jackson, Annabeth Chase, Grover Underfield, arrested for murder.
It's Underwood.
Sorry.
How dare you disrespect our lovely goat boy?
Sorry. Grover Underwood, arrested for murder in the 1st degree.
Yeah.
At least in the film.
I think Annabeth technically shot the arrow, so
okay.
She gets the 2nd.
No, 1st degree is worse.
I don't know, dude.
He doesn't watch enough crime shows, everyone.
One of my favorite TV shows of all time is a crime show.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
It's just not about murder most of the time.
Okay. Fine.
It's about high art forgery.
Oh, White Collar.
Yeah.
Oh, very good show.
Incredibly good show.
Yeah, actually, not a bad show.
I just watch it it's a really, really good show.
Yeah.
It's just usually it's about art forgery and not murder.
So
every now and again, murder pops in.
Yeah. So here we are in the Parthenon, and all these guys are just passed out, and they just move all the bodies because they're dead. And then Percy's like, "Oh, I gotta get the thing, so I'm gonna put."
So they call Luke,
and Luke's like, "Hey, activate the flying shoes."
Yeah, which isn't a thing in the book. All you have to do is say a word or tap your feet or something.
It's a Greek word.
Yeah, something like that, and you can fly. And in the film, he's like, nah, he needs to have a running head start, like a jet on a runway. And we were like, okay. So he goes to the end of the Parthenon.
And think happy thoughts.
Oh, right. Think happy thoughts, because apparently if you're sad, you can't fly. That's not how flight works.
Somebody got the Peter Pan script mixed in with the Percy Jackson script.
Okay. That's what happened. So pretty much Percy takes the running start. He flies up. He gets the pearl. He gets back down. Yay, we're all happy. Whoop-de-doo. Oh, wait, the janitors aren't dead?
Yeah, so all 5 janitors show up, and then they transform into the Hydra.
Who isn't in the first book. They show up later. The Hydra shows up later in the series. I won't say where because I don't want to ruin it for anyone if they haven't read the series and they want to read the series. But the Hydra does show up, but not in the first book.
And which is very proven by the point. But this is where I'm the movie wanted to copy Clash of the Titans. This is why. In Clash of the Titans, Perseus fights the Hydra. And you know how he defeats the Hydra? With Medusa's head.
Oh. So yeah, pretty much this fight, they keep going. Percy's like, haha, I can do this. He chops off the head. For anyone that doesn't know, if a Hydra head is chopped off, 2 more grow in its place.
Even Disney got that right. Just want to say that.
I will say they did get that part right. So at least they got that part right and weren't just nah, he chops off the head and it's okay. But honestly, at this point, I wouldn't have been surprised if they did say that.
Yeah. So, Percy clashes the Titans, the Clash of the Titans with Medusa's head. And Annabeth is like, "Oh my gosh, you're so great. I love you.
Yay.
Yay." And then we go to a hotel.
Percy's in a pool.
And Annabeth has some injury on her arm from the Hydra, and he uses water to heal her, and they just make sex eyes at each other, because we really needed that scene in this movie.
Totally.
And then Grover calls from the hotel room and says, "Hey, Percy, Annabeth, you better get in here."
Which I will say, this is a fun trope that I just absolutely love, but it's that whenever you turn on the TV, you're watching important things happen that are plot relevant, and it's a funny trope that I just enjoy. I don't hate it because it's a way to tell the story, right? And keep the
Oh.
story moving, fine. But I do definitely laugh at it when I'm like, well, that was convenient. But also in this one, I would believe that for Grover, at least, like, the news may have been on in the background. And then, like, you know, he saw the news, may have hit pause if, like, the TV had the capability to pause. And then called Percy in. So, like, I'm not upset that this one is there. But, like, it's just a funny trope that, like, you do see fairly often.
I thought the trope that you were going to talk about was not that trope.
Oh, which trope?
I thought the trope was going to be the best friend who comes in and cock blocks the main character.
Yeah, but, like,
Which I think happens way too much in media.
it does. It does. It happens a lot. I don't mind that trope when it's truly unintentional.
Yeah. So, oops. Sorry, Ankit.
What?
Nothing. I'm kidding.
What did you do?
Nothing.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, be confused.
Okay. I'm
Okay.
good at that.
So we end up in the hotel room, and Smelly Gabe is on the TV, being like, "Yeah, my wife is gone, and Percy stole my car."
I like how you gave Smelly Gabe a slightly southern accent there when he's from New York.
Yeah. He's Smelly Gabe. He don't deserve New York accent anymore. He's lost his New York status. So he can have a Donald Trump.
But he's the only good casting of the film.
I know. Great actor. Hate the character. So here we are. We're in the hotel, and like Percy's like, fuck him. And fudge him, and turns off the TV. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Well, I mean, like, they're having a conversation, and then Grover goes into the toilet, and they've left Medusa's head in the toilet. To their credit, they put sunglasses on Medusa's eyes so that she can't, like, you know, turn them into stone if they look at it.
Yeah, because that's how that works.
Apparently that's how that works now, which I'm pretty sure that's not how that works. But fine, whatever, we move. And Grover then goes, guys, can we not put the head in the, like, sink? And just is holding the head, and then the maid walks by, and she sees the head, she screams, and then they all go, well, maybe we should get out of here.
Yeah.
The whole reason we have gone to the hotel, by the way, or I'm sorry, this is not a hotel, the motel, by the way. The whole reason we have gone to the motel was for them to sleep and then drive in the morning, because the next location is Vegas. And it's a long drive from Tennessee to Vegas.
So before we hit the road, we because they tried to drive and they almost got into an accident. That's why they ended up going to the hotel anyway. So we go to a diner. Now, this scene really excites me, and it makes me really, 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 really mad.
We go to a diner in the film?
There's a diner scene.
Oh, see, this scene makes me so mad that, like, I just completely forgot the scene existed.
So we're in the diner. And then they're like, oh, yeah, our next place is Las Vegas. And then we go to Vegas. That's all the diner scene is in this movie.
So what happens in the book, Stephen?
We meet the villain of the book, which is Ares, by the way. Not Hades. Okay, let's get that right. Ares is the villain of the first book. Did you forget to put him in the movie?
I'm telling you, dude, they barely read the first chapter, let alone the book.
Yeah, so they just didn't put the bad guy in the movie. I'm like, guys, you forgot to meet Ares. How do you forget to meet Ares?
And then Ares sends them on a whole quest, and that's when you kind of get the inkling that Percy and Annabeth might kind of be into each other, but they're also 12 and awkward, so they don't know what these new feelings are.
That's all I'm saying. So before we go to Vegas and allow myself to get even more mad, we're just going to take a little snack break.
Yeah!
All right, see you after our snack break.
We're heading to Vegas.
Yeah!
And
which I've driven to Vegas before. I love Las Vegas.
I've been to Vegas 4 times. 1 time was with my family, and the other 3 were with my school.
See, I've been a lot with my family because, like, my uncle lives there.
You also, like, your family lives significantly closer to Vegas than mine does.
That's a 4-hour drive. It's nothing.
Yeah, for me, it's like a 4-hour flight, dude.
Yeah.
Not 4. I think it's like 2.5 from Seattle.
Yeah, you fly down to LAX. We'll drive out there one day.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we end up in Vegas, and we drive there ourselves because Aries can't drive us. Stupid film adaptation.
Also, we completely forgot, but like they also save some beautiful animals in the book. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
They save some gorgeous beasts like a zebra and I think a lion.
Yeah.
And there are some other ones. I'm forgetting what they
I think
are.
it was an albino lion too.
Yeah, possibly it was rare. Like one of the Sigmund and Freud, or who did the tiger show? No, it was a lion show in Vegas, and then they got attacked by the lion, and people were like, see, they were always bad.
Don't know.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
No.
How do you not know what I'm talking about? There's literally like a picture of them in front of I think it's the not the Bellagio. It's the other B one. Not the Bellagio, but there's another casino. Listeners, if any of you know what I am talking about, comment it so that Steven can see what in the world I'm talking about.
Cool. So we end up going to the Lotus Casino, which doesn't exist.
Although I will say, cool design.
Not bad. It's also really interesting because in the book, the Lotus Casino, they went there because they just needed a place to stay for the night and sleep, not because the pearl's there.
Yeah.
So also because the Lotus Casino just looks so freaking awesome.
Well, also, like, they just got, in the book, they're just offered free room.
Same in the film, kind of, yeah.
Kind of. They're offered, like, free rooms and stuff, and they keep trying to say, like, no, we're not staying. In the book, they're like, no, like, we're here to, like, crash and then leave.
Yeah. So, interesting enough, the summer solstice deadline is coming up. Hasn't really been explained in the book. In the movie, it's really explained in the book that the summer solstice is the timeline where Percy needs to get the bolt to Zeus. Now, what we haven't mentioned is Percy's going to the underworld because he thinks Hades has the bolt.
Yeah, Hades don't have the bolt.
But, like, in the movie, his motivation is just to go save his mom and think that he can just talk Hades into it without going with the bolt. In the book, he thinks Hades has the bolt, so he's going to go steal the bolt back to bring it to Zeus. It's a lot.
In the film, does he even know about the bolt?
No.
Okay.
Other than, like, Hades going, bring me the bolt. He doesn't know where it is.
So he's just trying to go to Hades to be like, look, dude, I don't have the bolt, but can you give me my mom back?
Literally. That's the film. Which is not, like, just such a terrible edit. So we're in Lotus Casino.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah, thanks, Craig Titley. You're the best, man. Just go away. I'm pretty sure you have, so it's fine.
Hey, Craig, if you are still out there, because I legitimately don't know, I don't love your previous work, but if you have new work and you want to hire me, hello.
I like your live action Scooby-Doo.
I will say that's up there on some of my favorite films.
As a kid, I liked your live action Scooby-Doo.
Even as an adult, they're just a fun, silly time.
So, we're in the Lotus Casino. I will say Lotus Casino pretty book accurate for the most part.
Pretty book accurate.
Other than the fact that the Lotus Casino can keep people there by just being so freaking awesome. In the movie, they decided to add these lotus flowers that they're going to eat to get high and everything.
Which is fine. It kind of feels like they're like, hey, we're going to drug these kids in the movie, which is weird. Because in the book, they're just, the Lotus Casino, the aura of the Lotus Casino is what keeps people there, what keeps people trapped there. But
because Vegas, baby.
Yeah.
The Lotus Casino comes from the lotus beds, which in Greek mythology could keep people sleeping there for hundreds of years.
Exactly. So in the book, Percy meets someone, and Percy, like, they're having a good time, and they're slowly kind of forgetting, like, what's going on, like, why are we here? But then Percy kind of, like, remembers of, like, oh, like, no, like, I need to do this. Like, I was here for a specific reason. Like, what's the reason kind of deal? And he kind of pieces it together. He finds someone, and he doesn't do this in the movie, but we'll get to it. But in the book, he finds someone who tells them that, like, they've been there, and they use some term of phrase which Percy doesn't recognize. And the guy's like, oh, well, it's like 1958 or something.
I think it's 1940s, he says. Yeah.
Possibly. I don't remember what the year is. But like some year that obviously isn't the year that Percy thinks that it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And so, like, the Lotus Casino actually becomes a really important plot point in another book because, there's reasons it exists, which we won't get to right now, but there are reasons.
Spoilers.
But Percy, on his own gumption, is able to beat the Lotus Casino and save his friends and get everybody out.
In the film, he has to be told by the ever-knowing Poseidon in his head
Don't eat the flower.
Yeah.
So,
which, to his credit, after he heard "Don't eat the flower," he then figures it out. He saves his friends. He catches up with his friends. He gets them to stop eating the flowers. They all kind of realize, like, oh, like, no, this is why we're here. Yeah. They find the pearl, which I don't even remember where the pearl is in this one.
It was in a roulette wheel.
It was in a roulette wheel, which is actually, like, a fun, cool place to, like, hide it. Like, yeah. I approve of that hiding spot.
But they're, like, the casino people try to, like, stop them and, like, take them out or, like, try to keep them in, And Grover's been walking around, like, with his goat legs out because,
No one cares.
No one cares. And then they steal the car that's on the floor, which movie only. So they, again, GTA, and they just drive it through the casino.
So that's something that I've always been curious about.
The cars that are on a floor model, you mean? Like a floor model in a interior building?
Yeah, like in a mall, in a casino. Yeah. Like, because then I'll look at the doors. And I'll be like, okay, how did you get them in?
Oh, they open. Like, they remove the middle piece and then they get the car in and then they turn it off.
Right, but even the car's width sometimes. Like, you're telling me that, like, a massive Hummer is able to fit through a door?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's also these things called elephant doors. Okay.
There are loading bays. Like, those do exist. Don't get me wrong. But, like, I don't know. I feel like it's some type of weird magic.
I just hate the movie trope where, like, every time people steal a floor model, they just, like, open the thing and the keys drop.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the keys are just, like, kept inside the floor model so anybody can turn it on.
Yeah. What's the concept there, guys?
Yeah, because that's a film thing only. So they steal the floor model and they book it to Hollywood. Now they got the 3 pearls. They now can go
to DOA.
To DOA Records.
Well, we're not going to DOA Records.
No, we're going to the Hollywood sign because apparently that's cool.
So we get to the Hollywood sign. Yay.
I like the fact they're a record company. I think it's quite funny it's a record company because it, talks about, like, but it's like...
Trust me, dude, I'm a musician. I got ya.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But it being the Hollywood sign, I'm like, okay. I guess making kind of a similar joke. Like, all of Hollywood is the underworld. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a cesspool.
That's where you're from.
They end up going, I'm from North. I'm from Lancaster. That's not Hollywood.
I'm sorry, how far away do you live from Hollywood?
An hour.
Great. For anyone who isn't from that area, close enough.
Okay, so they end up going to the H to get into the underworld. You know what? That makes a lot of sense. H, hell, underworld. I mean, the way they directed it.
But it's not hell.
No,
it's the underworld.
No, I know, but the way they directed it, the H makes sense.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so I'm just saying, from their perspective, the H makes sense.
Great, we get it.
So they end up going to the H, going down, and they meet Charon, who is the boat manager to travel across the river Styx.
And in Hades, the video game, an absolute delight of a human being.
Also, like, in the book, he's like in like this suit, and he's really funny and like really. But in the movie, he's
the most deadpan, directly straight character there is.
Also, I will say he's probably he's still funny in the. They cut his comedy out, but like, I laughed a bit at this guy.
I mean, it's still deadpan comedy, and we all appreciate deadpan comedy.
Yeah. So then there's no argument. He just takes them across the river Styx. Like, I'm like,
Yeah, in the book, there's a back and forth, and he's like, well, you're not dead. I can't take you. And then they have to offer him gold drachmas, which is the currency, in case anyone's still confused on that. But they give him gold drachmas, and then he agrees to take them across. And cool. In the book, we then meet Cerberus,
Yeah. So, which we don't meet in the film.
which is a crime. I wanted to see a cute 3-headed dog try to rip them apart.
I mean, watch the first Harry Potter film.
Yeah, but Fluffy isn't cute and has very little screen time.
I think Fluffy could be cute.
Fluffy can be cute,
Yeah.
but Fluffy isn't portrayed as cute. Like in the book, they literally become friends with Cerberus and play fetch with them.
That's true. And the three heads argue over the rubber ball.
Yeah.
So,
Like, I wanted to see that. I wanted to see them play fetch with the dog.
can we talk about the River Styx, though, before we go meet Cerberus?
Oh, sure.
So, like, the River Styx in the film is not a river.
It's like you're floating on air, and it's
Like,
it's
there's a bunch
weird.
of, like, items they're going through, like, worldly possessions, and
Which is fine. The river Styx might actually have, like, junk and stuff. It's polluted as well. Fine.
My only issue is, without it actually being a river, it destroys a later part of the novels and Greek mythology, because people have literally dunked themselves in the River Styx. Achilles, the hero from Greek mythology, is dumped in the River Styx and is held on by his ankle.
Which is why we call it an Achilles tendon, because that is what his weak point was, and that's how he was killed. He was shot with an arrow through his Achilles tendon, and he died.
Because the rest of his body was coated in the River Styx, and he was immortal.
Yeah.
Because that makes... Yeah. So it needs to be an actual river. Okay, I digress. So we don't meet Cerberus, and I would imagine we'd see, in the book, we get to see all the parts of the underworld in
We
Greek
do
mythology.
see, for anyone that's just listening and isn't watching the video, C was in giant quotations. But we do see the fields of asphodel.
I don't think we do.
No, because as they're going, we just hear the screams, and then Charon just says like an offhanded comment of like, "Oh, the fields of asphodel, they're terrible."
Oh yeah. So we don't we don't see like
We don't actually see it. We just like get a reference
we
to
don't
it.
see the other two places, which is like the
Elysium.
Elysium, which is like heaven, or what's the middle one? It's basically purgatory.
You have the fields.
Yeah.
You have Elysium, and then you have. There is a third, and I'm blanking on what it is.
One is basically heaven, one's basically hell, and one's basically purgatory.
Look, if anyone knows what it's called, leave us a comment.
Sorry
shoot us a
about
message.
that. We've been trying to film this episode for 5 weeks, so the book is in and out.
Yeah. We read this book when we planned on filming, and then
Things happen. So
Life.
We're glad we're able to give you this episode now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get to actually really explore the underworld, which I think is really cool. A Greek version of the underworld. In the movie, they've turned the underworld into hell. They've turned it into straight up Christianity hell, which again, Craig Titley, that's not the point. So also, in the book, Percy almost gets dragged down to Tartarus because Grover is wearing Luke's shoes. The shoes that Luke had given Percy
Are cursed.
Are given to Grover, are cursed, and they start dragging him down to a hole. Now, Percy and Annabeth are able to save Grover. It's fine. But the shoes go down that hole. That hole, we later learn, is Tartarus.
More on that if you read the books. And
Yeah.
potentially in the next episode, because I don't actually know what happens in the second film. I'm scared based on Steven's silent laugh.
It's terrible.
Okay.
So
So anyway, none of
that.
that happens. We pretty much just meet
We go and we meet
Persephone and...
Hellhounds and Persephone. Now, it's the summer, Ankit.
Oh, I know.
You want to explain why this scene is donkey voodoo?
Yeah. So this scene pops up, and I immediately just go, "It's the summer. Why is Persephone here?"
Keep in mind, we haven't paused the film the whole time watching the film. It wasn't until this point where I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to pause the film. I literally paused the film to let Ankit get mad.
Yeah. He understood that I was going to be upset by this, and to Steven's credit, he did anticipate my annoyance.
So,
but it doesn't work, because here's the thing. Greek mythology, right? Persephone eats a pomegranate from the underworld, and that's why, she becomes Hades' wife and, is in the underworld. But anyway, the whole thing, Persephone spends 6 months of the year in the underworld and 6 months of the year in the overworld. Now, the way it works is that when it's the spring, and it's harvest season and sunny and nice out, Persephone's in the overworld. With her mother Demeter. Now, and then in the winter, she's in the underworld with Hades, who, she does love. She is still his wife. They just, got married in a unethical way because Hades was like, mine, and stole someone, and don't do that. That's not okay. But pretty much, she's not supposed to be there is my main point. She's not supposed to be at Hades' palace. And even in the book, Percy has a thought when he's like, oh, I kind of wish this was the summer so that Persephone... I kind of wish this was the winter so that Persephone might have been here to help quell Hades, Hadesness.
Yeah. So, I've been reading, there's this little cute comic book that I keep finding on Facebook or sometimes on YouTube. It's really cute. It's like if Hades and Persephone were chibi characters.
Okay.
And it's really cute. It's
you gotta send this to me.
I have to find it again.
Yeah.
It's like their chibi love, and it's like, aw.
Next time it pops up, send it to me. Anyway, what happens next?
So, we meet Hades, and, is it Russell Brand?
No, I don't actually. It's not Russell Brand. I don't remember who plays Hades. But anyway, Hades is...
So, we meet Hades, and...
He's suave.
He's not... By the way, Persephone's played by Rosario Dawson. And Steve Coogan plays Hades.
Cool.
So, Hades is like, he walks in, he looks like a rocker.
Yeah.
And my issue with this is, I love the way he's described in the book, because he's like Percy's like, this is the first god I've met that looks really godly and scary.
Yeah, because he's met Dionysus. Dionysus is wearing a Hawaiian t-shirt and shorts.
Well, we haven't met Dionysus in the film. This is the first god we actually see.
Right. In the film, yes. I mean in the book.
Yeah, but in the film, this is the first god Percy sees, and in the film we've seen Poseidon and Zeus before.
Yeah.
But this is the first god we see. Why? And then basically Hades is like, Percy's like, I don't have the bolt, give me my mom. And Hades is like, why would I do that? I'm Hades.
Hades never brings up that his Helm of Darkness was stolen, which is the whole reason that he was going after Percy, because he thought that Percy stole his Helm of Darkness.
Exactly. Because him being a child of the big three, everyone assumed Poseidon was trying to start fighting with his brothers.
Yeah. And then, so pretty much in the book, what happens is that Ares gives them a backpack when they meet Ares, and then the Helm of Darkness and the lightning bolt both show up in the backpack. And that's when we learn, Ares is the bad guy. That's not what happens in the book. In the book, pretty much what happens not in the book. In the movie, what happens is that it shows up in Luke's shield, and only the lightning bolt, the Helm of Darkness, is never brought up.
Doesn't exist
in this world. But the lightning bolt shows up in Luke's shield, and being like, Luke stole the bolt, and it was Luke all along. And fine, whatever. Luke also doesn't have the magical powers to make sure that the bolt doesn't reveal itself until you're in the underworld, but we don't need to get into that. And pretty much, Hades notices this, thinks that he has all the power, and then Persephone betrays him?
Yeah, so Hades is holding a lightning bolt like he's going to vaporize Percy Annabeth, Grover, and his mom because he released his mom.
Oh yeah.
And then like Persephone's like knocks him out, and then stops everything. And yeah. Also, I'm gonna talk about the Master Bolt really quick.
All right.
This is Zeus's Master Bolt. No one would touch it in the book. No one would even take it out of its case in the book. This Master Bolt is compared to 5 nuclear bombs in the book. And it is used in the movie to blow off chunks of a building.
Yep.
Okay, let's continue. So Persephone betrays Hades, and then she comes up to them and she's like, "You have my pearls?" And they're all like, "Yeah, because we were told to, because the plot, because it's a MacGuffin." Haha.
Wait.
Oh, you only have 3. Only 3 of you can leave. So Grover stays, which is not accurate to the book at all.
In the book, they leave behind Mom and go because they understand we need to deliver this bolt or there's going to be an all-out war between the gods.
Yeah. So they pop the bubbles and Mom, Annabeth, and Percy leave. And Grover in the film is now going to stay and have lovely
relations
with Rosario Dawson, which I guess not a bad trade.
Moving on.
So they use the pearls and they end up in New York. They can't end up in LA where they were. No, yeah. They end up in
the book. What happens is that they use the pearls. They go straight up and
not the well, yeah, because they get the pearls.
Well, they get the pearls later, but they use the pearls. They go straight up through just the floor, and they end up in the middle of the ocean, which is fun. And they're rescued by the Coast Guard, and then Ares shows up. They have an all-out fight, and I guess to the viewers and the stand-byers, it looks like 2 people having a gunfight while these guys are actually having a sword fight. So one of them has a shotgun and one of them has a machine gun or something in the book. It's funny, and I can't wait to see this in the show. I really, really hope that in the show they show us what mortals see as well.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
What are the mortals seeing when this is what's going on?
Yeah, so Rick is really, really, really good at writing action scenes.
Oh, yeah. All you have to do is pick up, paste, there you go.
And it felt like Craig Titley went, "Oh, no, I want to be clever. I want to write my own action scenes."
So we get to New York.
So we're in New York, and they're like, "Oh, we have to take the bolt up to the Empire State Building because to Mount Olympus, which is on top of the Empire State Building." By the way, first time it's mentioned in the whole film. Yeah. We know this in the book already. So they take the elevator up to the top of the Empire State Building because you can't just take the elevator all the way up. You have to stop at the roof for some reason, and then use magic to go to the next section.
Yes, because this makes sense. In the book, you just have to get a special pass. And then, you can just hit the 600th floor and go.
So they go all the way up, and his mom, by the way, is in the elevator. And then
she's not supposed to be able to go up to Olympus.
Yeah, at all.
At all.
Luke is there, and Luke's like, "Oh, I'm the lightning thief," and at that point, Ankit and I were just like, "Just go away."
And then they proceed to have a fight.
Yeah, because a battle with a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old is way more cool than a battle between a 12-year-old and a god.
Yes.
No. So
yes.
Percy is flying.
I'm sorry. Craig Titley and Christopher Columbus thought it was a good idea. Of course it's a good idea, Stephen. What are you talking about?
So now we have a flying Percy Jackson and a flying...
how is Luke flying? I forget.
Luke has
he also has wingy shoes.
Yeah, because he's Hermes' son. So they start fighting and everything, and Luke really doesn't have a reason. He doesn't say why he's doing anything. He doesn't go, "Oh, I'm doing this to bring war about," or he's like.
Yeah, in the book, Luke's betrayal doesn't come until the last chapter of the book. We won't say what Luke's betrayal is and how he does it in the book in case anyone wants to read, but honestly at this point this whole show is spoilers, so if you haven't read it I'm really sorry, but Luke does betray, but his betrayal is done in a much more tasteful way.
I will also say this. If you're going to have a character betray us as an audience, not just in the book, but in the film specifically, we should care about that character.
I don't care about Luke.
We should be friends with that character. Percy and Luke aren't really friends in the book, in the film. They are in the book, sorry. In the film, they're not really friends. Annabeth and Luke aren't really friends in the film either. And Annabeth and Luke are really
like
close
siblings.
in the books.
Annabeth has a huge crush on Luke.
Yeah, because they were saved together by Grover back in the day. So just...
There are no stakes. There are no stakes to this fight. It just kind of feels like he's blowing up. It's a fine fight, I guess. Like, you're flying around New York, and somehow there's zero traffic anywhere. I don't know. There are no noises. No one's, like, out on their roof getting destroyed by, these random bolts of lightning that are flying around, whatever. The fight happens. Percy ends up beating up Luke.
Because he uses a water tower.
Yeah. At least his water powers came back.
Someone call Spider-Man.
Whee!
Sorry, we're in New York. I have to say.
Actually, though, where is Spider-Man? Why is Spider-Man not called onto the scene?
Right?
What the hell?
Come on, Spider-Man.
Spidey. Be better.
Come on. Iron Man 2, because, Avengers Tower's in New York.
No. We'll give them credit. It hasn't gotten to that point.
Hasn't got to 2012 yet.
It hasn't gotten to 2012 yet. So, actually... Spider-Man, it depends, I guess, on which universe of the multiverse we're in.
I think would have been still Tobey Maguire, no?
I mean, like, here's the thing. With Spider-Man, you still have a Spider-Man in every universe.
Fair.
So, whereas you don't necessarily have an Iron Man and you don't necessarily have a Captain America and all of that, as we've learned from the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans, that you don't necessarily have the Avengers in every universe, but you have a Spider-Man in every universe, which is continuity based on both the MCU as well as the Spider-Man animated ones that are coming out, which are absolutely incredible across the Spider-Verse. So, Spidey, be better.
Yeah. Where are you, Spider-Man? Percy's like, yay, I defeated Luke. And, Luke's just, like, passed out because of water. Doesn't even get, like, hurt or anything.
That sounds about right. So we head to Olympus.
And his mom, Annabeth, and Percy all take the elevator up. Now, his mom, the barrier to Olympus, you think would be the elevator. No. The barrier is...
At the top,
so you could see Olympus. You just can't walk into it. And I'm like... And I looked at Hunkit, and I was just like... So a mortal could get into that. Just a random mortal on accident. Walk in and go... Oh, where am I? But, like, can't walk into it, but could literally get to the top and see Olympus.
That's when you pull out your phone, and you're like, click! Hey, guys, I found this weird thing.
Yeah. So, Annabeth and Percy both go to the throne room to return the lightning bolt. In the book, Percy goes alone.
Yeah.
He sends Annabeth and Grover back to camp. He says he'll meet them there. And Percy goes alone he finishes the quest alone. And I think it just shows, Percy has become so individualistic. He's stronger. He's smarter. He's becoming his own at the end of the book.
Wasn't like he sent Annabeth and Grover to camp just for no reason.
No.
Like, no, you don't deserve to be here. Like, no, he sent them for a very specific reason.
Exactly. So Annabeth and Percy walk into the room, and all around the room is all the 12 gods in a meeting, the summer solstice meeting. And in the book, we only have 2 gods, Zeus and Poseidon. But because we need Annabeth to see Athena, all the gods have to be there. Now all the gods are in, like, the traditional Grecian outfits.
Yeah.
Because we can't tell that the big guys walking on Olympus are gods unless they wear those.
Nah.
In the book, they're wearing, like...
But also, it's like their meeting, so it makes sense that, like, once or twice a year, you gotta look proper.
Yeah, but they weren't even wearing that in the book. You know that.
I'm just saying.
Okay. My new nitpick.
It's an option.
So Percy, returns the bolt to Zeus, and then here comes another nitpicky point from me.
Okay.
So Annabeth sees Athena and is like, "Hi, Mom," and like, cool. And Athena's like, "Oh, it's my daughter Annabeth. I'm so happy to see her." In the film, they mentioned this once, that in the scene where like Percy and Annabeth were like making lovey eyes at each other and like
Back at the motel.
They mentioned this, that like Zeus passed a law where the gods weren't allowed to contact their children, which is not in the book at all.
Nah.
The gods in the book just don't.
They're just negligent.
Like, there's nothing stopping the god parents from contacting their children.
They
Now,
just don't.
if it's a quest, yes, there is laws against that.
Yeah,
For instance, Poseidon can't help Percy on his quest because you're not allowed to help your own.
You're not allowed to help heroes on their quests.
Yeah.
Which,
well,
like,
if
okay,
they're your hero.
No. Technically, I think in a later book, one of the gods says that, like, I know I'm not supposed to help you, but, like, no one's gonna know. And the thing is that, like, all the gods help, other than Zeus. All the gods kind of help on these quests. Just no one really says anything, and everyone just kind of keeps quiet about it because they're like, all right, we're not like giving them the answer. We just nudge them in the right direction.
Yeah. So, So basically, the only child who's really never been contacted by their godly parent is Percy. Like, because Poseidon really can't. Like, that's the big three problem. Like, the big three.
Yeah.
Like, Percy shouldn't exist because of the big three agreement. Just like Talia, which we won't, because apparently Talia wasn't mentioned in the film, but she's in the book. Zeus's daughter. She turns into a tree. It's fine.
Read the book. You'll figure out who she is.
Not mentioned in the film. Also broke the big three agreement. Charlie D'Angelo also broke the big three agreement.
Who's Charlie?
Not Charlie. Sorry, the D'Angelo sister.
Who in the world is Charlie? You call yourself a fan?
Sorry, I was getting.
And you just named my precious boy Charlie?
Sorry, I was getting Charles Beckendorf and D'Angelo mixed up in my head.
Disgraceful.
I know.
Good.
Okay.
Continue.
D'Angelo brother and sister also break the agreement.
Technically not, but read the books to figure out what we mean.
Yeah. But basically there's just a lot of issues there, and so Zeus gets the bolt back. Yay, no war. That's also kind of true in the book. Percy actually really stands up to Zeus, and it makes like Poseidon laugh, and like it's like because Percy's like really like not giving in to Zeus.
Yeah, Percy don't take it. He's like, oi, you made me go through this. I didn't do anything, so you're gonna hear about my complaints.
So he tells Zeus, he's like, Zeus, can I ask for a favor? And he's like, yeah, can you save Grover? And it's like, that's the film version. In the book, he doesn't even ask like for anything because he knows he can't.
Yeah.
And so
in the book, though, he does do a funny thing where he greets his dad first, and Zeus gets all pissy, and he's like, "How dare you not respect me?" And Poseidon's just like, "Dude, he's my kid. It kind of makes sense that he would say hi to his dad, who he's never met before, and then address you. Like, just calm yourself, bro."
Yeah. So, and then, Poseidon turns into normal Percy size, and they have a conversation where, like, they're like, "Hi, yeah, cool, you're my dad. Nice to meet you." And, like,
that's it.
They kind of have, like, a father-son moment, which I'm like, not earned. Really not. Like, Poseidon and Percy are not supposed to, like, be on a good level ever. They're kind of like
they're
awkward.
At least in the first book, they don't really kind of get into a decently like understanding level, I would say, until even like book 3, book 4.
Yeah.
Is like where Percy like has understood like, okay, this is the relationship. It's not that dad doesn't care about me, but like this is just because of certain rules, because of certain ways, like this is how it's going to work. But like it takes him 2-3 years to understand like, okay, this is my relationship with dad. It's not that he doesn't care. It's just that this is how it's going to work.
Again, Percy is 12 years old.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to understand. And in the film, they've taken a 12-year-old script and put him in a 16-year-old body.
Again, that's the biggest problem. Anyway.
So,
let's finish up the film because we're almost there.
We've saved the day. Yay. Grover is saved. Percy's going to now train in the
very cramped camp.
Yeah, and Annabeth and Percy are an item.
Which doesn't happen at the end of the first book.
So at the end of the first book, Percy goes back to camp, and
Luke's betrayal happens.
Luke's betrayal happens. We won't get into details because we want you to read the book, and this is a really good chapter.
Yeah.
And then Annabeth and Percy both have a decision to make, whether to stay at camp or leave camp. Percy wants to go home and just live with his mom, and he's really excited about it. And also at the same time, he's been convincing Annabeth she should try to do the same. Annabeth should try her family again, which is really sweet, I think, at the end of the day. So Percy goes home, and we also learn why his mom married Smelly Gabe is because Gabe's smell protected Percy from monsters
for many years.
Many years. Gabe, in both the book and the film, gets his comeuppance. The Medusa head comes back. In the film, it's an ending credit scene. But in the book, it's Percy gets a box when he gets home.
And it's the same box that he delivered Medusa's head into
so he
the gods.
Gives it to his mom and says, "Do what you want, Mom."
He does explain to his mom what it is.
Yeah.
So that she doesn't accidentally, turn
Exactly.
herself to stone. And his mom uses it to then, sell a statue of men playing poker.
One man playing poker.
Men playing poker.
Yeah. So
and uses that money to fund her going to school.
Yeah, and Percy being able to move back home.
Yeah.
Really exciting stuff. Also because I know some people might be like, "Oh, but didn't she just commit murder?" Gabe is an abusive a-hole. So
we're okay with it.
Yeah. So
and Sally Jackson, at least in the book, is the purest human being ever, and no one should ever touch Sally.
So in the film, it's an extra credit scene, and it's Gabe Luguliano, Smelly Gabe, played by one of the best actors in the film, goes, "Sally, I want another beer," and no one answers. So he opens the fridge door, and there's
which has a note saying don't open under any circumstances, and Gabe has the soft-handed comment, "It's my house, I'll do what I want." He opens it and gets turned to stone.
First of all, it was locked. He broke the lock to open it.
Yeah.
So we watch him break the lock. He opens it, gets turned to stone. And then every person, including the morgue, including all the people who come to check on him, will turn the stone from then on in that apartment.
Hey, we're going to have a great time at school with Sally Jackson.
And that's just the film version?
That's the film version.
Problems with the film version. Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
That's our adaptation comparison. So now we come to my favorite segment. We're going to grade it.
Woo! All right, Stephen, let's start with
the book.
What do you grade the book?
Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief is a fun journey. Kept me invested the whole time through. Especially when I was younger and I read it. Even as an adult and reading it, I think it's very good. I would have to give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Are we graded on a 10 scale?
Yeah, on a 10 scale.
So
10 being the best, 1 being the worst.
Not like 100% an A, because I always think there's room for improvement. I think a good A- because it sets up the world really well. It's really fun. I think it just takes you on a really great journey. So
yeah.
A-.
I would say probably just because I know so much more about this series than you do, in the sense of not just Percy Jackson, but everything that comes after it.
Yeah.
I would give it probably an 8.5.
Okay.
Again, incredibly good, fantastic book, great setup to the series, but it's also Rick's first book. And that's the thing. It's just his writing gets so much better as the series goes along, and that's the only thing that's holding this back. If he wrote the book now, knowing the knowledge what he has, it would be a 9.5, 10 out of 10. But the only reason that I say that is just because I know how I would rate some later books in this series as well. Mm-hmm. I would say 8.5-ish. So it's still incredibly good. Like I said, it's my favorite book series of all time.
Yeah, and I would say this. We also could, we'll do a bonus content one day where we'll put all of the all of the books into order
Yeah.
with the films. It'll be really fun. We'll do a tier list, if you will.
We'll do a tier list, and I will toss in the tier list of like all the sequels that I've read and everything as well, which Steven's gonna be confused about because he hasn't read any of them.
Yay! So cool. Let's talk about what would you grade the film as a film, not as an adaptation. So let's say you didn't know
As
about
a
the book,
film,
you came to the film.
5 out of 10.
I respect that. I would give it a 5 out of 10 as well.
As a film, not looking at it from an adaptation, I would say 5 out of 10. And here's my reasoning for 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
My reasoning is that it was still enjoyable. It was still fine. Is it a movie that I would go back and put on again if I like didn't read the book or anything? Probably not. Because the thing that made it lacking was just there was no depth to the characters. There was no stakes. Like it just felt like we were going through the motions, but nothing was really happening.
Yeah.
Which is why I would give it a 5.
I'm gonna give it a 6. I think Brendan T. Jackson is really fun as Grover. I know he's like not correct.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. Brendan T. Jackson, Smelly Gabe, Uma Thurman, and like even Logan Letterman and Alexander Daddario are the only reason that it's a 5 for me.
I'm giving it a 6. I think it's a really good film. It gets people invested in the series. I think it's still a good trajectory into people watching the series or reading the books, and I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
I also think, obviously they pulled the whole Grover gets his horns at the end of the film. I forgot to mention, which
fine.
is not in the book. But I just really enjoy Brendan T. Jackson. I think he's really good in the film, as well as the guy who plays Gabe. And I think it's a really good star-studded cast. I think it just has Christopher Columbus at the helm
It has other issues.
Doesn't make a good mark, and Craig Titley's not a good scriptwriter.
Cool. I mean, we've obviously talked about the adaptation grade, obviously.
Grade the adaptation.
Exactly. Now, we don't really need to give much of an explanation for our adaptation grading, because I feel like that's what these 2 episodes are. What's your adaptation grading?
I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10.
Oh, that's generous.
I feel like it is generous, but like for the things that they kept in there, for like the book accurate dialogue, for the for trying to maintain some of the story, 2 out of 10.
I give it a 1.5.
That's fair. Ankit's a lot harder of a grader than I am.
Look,
apparently.
when I really, really like the series, it's going to skew my perspective. Listeners, by all means, like, let us know what your gradings are. Like, honestly, that is something that I'm really looking forward to with this show that I don't necessarily do on some of my other shows, but like I really want to hear from you all. Like, what would you grade it on all 3? Like, if you've read the book, what would you grade the book? If you've only seen the film, what would you grade the film? And if you've done both, then what would you grade the adaptation? Obviously, like, you can't give an educated guess if you haven't done one or the other for the adaptation one, but whatever you have read or consumed, please let us know, because we would love to hear your thoughts as well. We want this to be a community of people who just like books and movies and TV shows. Like, we want to build a healthy community where we can talk about this in an open light and have open discussions about this stuff.
So that's Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Please join us next week for Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters.
Yay!
I believe it's probably called Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Sea of Monsters.
It might be. If you are looking for where to watch it, it is on Disney Plus. I believe in most countries in the world, you can access it on Disney Plus. If you need to access it in some way that isn't Disney Plus, that is completely fine, completely understandable. Just, don't get caught.
No piracy, kids. We're not One Piece here, which we will do One Piece one day. I'm going to get Ankit to do it.
I don't understand.
I want to do the One Piece live action adaptation. But I appreciate Thank you, Ankit, for joining me as my co-host.
Oh, always.
This has been a really fun first 2 episodes. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you read the book and follow us on all our social medias at Co-op Forge. Follow our YouTube channel. Please subscribe or listen to us on Spotify. And we hope to see you next week.
Yeah, be sure to tune in next week. It'll be a doozy. Every time I bring up the film, Steven just laughs silently, so I am very scared to watch this film. But
I'm gonna kill him inside.
Anyway, on that note, on me potentially dying on the inside, we'll see y'all next week.
There's a reason they didn't do a third one. Bye,
Oh,
y'all.